Chapter 12, Jainism, an Indian alternative to Hinduism, arising about 500 BCE. Written and produced by Thomas Tyseal, copyright Thomas Tyseal, unless otherwise noted. Parallel to the development of Hinduism in India runs an alternative spiritual path, Jainism, also known as Jain Dharma. To understand Jain history, it's helpful to review their concept of time and matter. Jains view the world as eternal. Time, kala, and matter, pudgala, have always been. There was no creator or creation of the world. While eternal and indestructible, matter is subject to change and can take different forms. By contrast, time is unchanging but cyclical, with a repeating half-cycle of unfolding prosperity, utsarpini, followed by a half-cycle of decline, avasarpini. Each of these half-cycles are divided into 6 eras, or aras, spokes of a wheel. Jains believe that we are currently in the 5th ara of spiritual decline. That is, things are not looking good. In each of the ascending and descending cycles of time, Jains believe that 24 Tirthankaras, ford makers, arise to help souls pass over, that is, to ford the stream of rebirths. In contrast to Hinduism, a Tirthankara is not an avatar, an incarnation of God. He's a normal human who through intense ascetic practices has purified his soul and found liberation, moksha, from rebirth. The first Tirthankara in our cycle of decline of 6 aras is said to have been Rishabhadeva, who lived many millions of years ago and attained nirvana on Mount Ashtapada, Mount Kailash in Tibet. History has no record of the Tirthankaras before the 24th, though they are spoken of in Jain texts in fantastic terms. Early ones are said to have had great height and lifespans. Rishabhadeva is said to have been about 1,500 meters tall and to have lived 10 to the 18th years. Most Tirthankaras are said to have been of royal birth and from the same family. Jain texts say that the 22nd Tirthankara, Nemanatha, was a cousin of Krishna. Jains believe the 23rd Tirthankara, Parshvanatha, lived in the 9th century BCE. The 24th Tirthankara was Mahavira, who, according to both Jain and Buddhist scripture, was a contemporary or near contemporary of the Buddha. Scholars vary as to when both Mahavira and the Buddha lived. The traditional date for the birth of Mahavira is 599 or 582 BCE, depending on the branch of Jainism. Mahavira was born somewhere in what is now the Indian state of Bihar, bordering Nepal and divided by the river Ganges. Like the Buddha, he was of royal birth and, at about age 30, left his life of privilege and became an ascetic, even renouncing clothing. After about 12 years, Mahavira attained omniscience, keval jnana, after which he preached for about 30 years before attaining liberation from rebirth, moksha, when he died. Mahavira's teachings were committed to memory by his chief disciples, Ganadharas, and passed down orally. A severe famine in India caused many of the early Jain disciples to move south, where they lost contact with the northern community. Over time, the two groups came to differ about what the original teachings were. The original teachings came to be known as purvas, meaning early or previous. About 150 years after Mahavira, a council of monks was held among the northern group in what is now Patna, the capital of Bihar. The monks gathered put together what they called the 12 Anga-Agamas, recognizing, however, that the 12th Agama could not be well remembered. In Sanskrit, Agama refers to the appearance of something substantial, like scripture. The word is also used to refer to various parts of Hindu and Buddhist scripture. Anga means part, and there were 12 parts in what this northern group, now called Tirthankara, meaning white-clad, felt were the essential teachings of Mahavira. Collectively, these 12 parts are known as Dwadashangi. To avoid excessive mispronunciation, I'll simply read the content area of each Anga. The first was about ascetic conduct. The second, nonviolence. The third had diverse metaphysical topics organized by number. The fourth dealt with astronomy and mathematics. The fifth, cosmology, philosophy, ethics, and history. The sixth had examples of Jain principles. The seventh, a code of conduct for lay followers. The eighth was how 10 monks attained moksha. The ninth is how 10 other monks attained the level just below moksha. The 10th had the 5 great vows and 5 worst sins. The 11th, the result of good and bad karma. And the 12th, as we said, was lost. In addition to the Anga-Agamas, the group in the north, now called Svetaambara or white-clad because of their white clothing, also gathered writings believed to have been composed by Mahavira's chief disciples. These are called the Anga-Bahyas, meaning outside of the Anga-Agamas. At present, though not originally, there are 34 of these secondary agamas. There are 12 upangas or secondary parts, 4 mulas or foundations, 2 chulikas or compilation sutras, 6 chita or dividing mark sutras, 10 prakyurnakas or miscellaneous. Recall that the Jains in the south of India were separated from the Jains in the north, and when the white-clad Jains in the north assembled the 12 Anga-Agamas, which they asserted contained the teachings of Mahavira, the southern community of Jains was not present. As it turns out, this southern group, now called Digambara, meaning sky-clad, did not agree with the scriptural creation of the northern group and rejected their agamas. This caused the first split in Jainism. Digambaras believed that the first 11 Anga-Agamas were lost, while the Svetaambara believed that they were properly remembered and recorded. The Digambaras also believed that many of the Anga-Bayas, the outside of Anga-Agamans, were also lost. Starting about 100 CE, the Digambaras slowly developed their own scripture, with their main text being the Shatkand Agam and the Kase Pahud. They believe these reflect the teachings of the original Purvas. The collections of teachings of both groups were not codified in writing till about 1,000 years after Mahavira. Prior to that, transmission was oral for both groups. Much later, non-agama literature, which contains commentary and explanation of agama literature, developed. For example, the Tattvartha Sutra, the summary of agamas, compiled between the 2nd and 5th century of the Common Era, is an important non-agama text that explains key Jain concepts accepted by both major branches of Jains. The Kalpa Sutras are also a popular non-agama Jain text, as it contains biographies of the Tirthankaras, especially Parshanvanatha and Mahavira. Because they follow different, though related, scriptures, the practices of the 2 major branches of Jainism vary. Male Digambara monks called sadhus, for example, practice nudity, as shown here in the center of the picture. They believe that they must be detached from clothing to be truly liberated. The Digambara also do not believe that women, shown here in white, can achieve liberation. Rather, they must be reborn as men to achieve this. Both male and female Svetambara monks wear white, unstitched clothing and believe that women too may achieve liberation. Over time, each main sect suffered further divisions. The teachings or religion of Jainism is often called Jain Dharma. Jains believe that a path of righteousness, dharma, is woven into the fabric of the universe, and thus what we call religion is in fact an eternal calling with no beginning and no real founder. It is simply natural law. Much, much later, and in a different continent, Spinoza would promote a similar view of natural religion. Dharma also has a technical meaning in Jainism, where it is viewed as a substance that enables beings and matter to move. It is one of the 6 eternal substances of the universe: time, matter, space, dharma, the cause of motion, adharma, the cause of rest, and souls, jiva. Basic Jain beliefs appear in the very first lesson of Book 1, Lecture 1 of the first Anga-Agama. Verses 3 to 6 read, "Now this is what one should know, either by one's own knowledge or through the instruction of the highest, that is, a Tirthankara, or having heard it from others, that he descended in an eastern direction or in any other direction. Similarly, some know that their soul is born again and again, that it arrives in this or that direction, whatever direction that may be. He believes in soul, in a permanent soul, different from the body, believes in the world, believes in reward, that is karma, believes in action, acknowledged to be our own doing in such judgments as these: I did it, I shall cause another to do it, I shall allow another to do it. In the world, these are all the causes of sin, which must be comprehended and renounced. A man that does not comprehend and renounce the causes of sin descends in a cardinal or intermediate direction, wanders to all cardinal or intermediate directions, is born again and again in manyfold births, experiencing all painful feelings. About this, the revered one, Mahavira, has taught the truth, comprehension, and renunciation. For the sake of the splendor, honor, and glory of this life, for the sake of birth, death, and final liberation, for the removal of pain, all these causes of sin are at work, which are to be comprehended and renounced in this world. He who in the world comprehends and renounces the causes of sin is called a reward-knowing sage, a muni. Thus I say." Well before Descartes, Jains clearly distinguished the importance of the mind-body, soul-non-soul divide, referring to this understanding as Bheda-Vijnana. Jains note that this understanding marks the beginning of right faith, or self-realization, samyaka darsana. This soul-non-soul division has profound consequences for Jains, as Jains are not to hurt anything with the soul, and many things have a soul in Jain thought. Jains believe that everything is imbued with a soul. The Akaranga Sutra of the Anga-Agama relates, "Thoroughly knowing the earth bodies and water bodies and fire bodies and wind bodies, the lichens, seeds, and sprouts, he, Mahavira, comprehended that they are, if narrowly inspected, imbued with life and avoided to injure them, he, the great hero. Thus, earth, water, fire, wind, and plants are all considered ekandriya, souls with one sense organ, touch. Very simple organisms which have the ability to touch and taste, such as microbes, worms, and clams, are called bayandrira, beings with 2 senses. Organisms that have the ability to touch, taste, and smell, like ants, fleas, spiders, and moths, are called Triyendrira, beings with three senses. Organisms that have the sense of touch, taste, smell, and sight, like bees, grasshoppers, and locusts, are called Charendra. Organisms with all five senses are called Panchanendra, beings with five senses. These are further divided into four categories. Infernal beings, souls living in hell, this form of Jia experiences the greatest suffering. Higher animals, this includes all non-human animals above insects. Human beings, this is the only form of Jiva which is able to obtain liberation directly. Heavenly beings, this form of Jiva is the happiest. The principle of not harming anything with the soul is called Ahimsa in Jainism. Ahimsa is the central component of Jainism and is sometimes referred to as one of its three major tenets. The other two are non-absolutism, Anekantavada, and non-possessiveness, Aparigraha. Jains who are strict practitioners do not till the soil so as not to harm the soil. They try not to breathe in any small living organisms, hence they often wear a mask. They filter water to avoid killing any organism in it. They try not to kill any plant, eating only the leafy parts or seeds which can be regrown. They are strict vegetarians, and of course, they do not kill humans. Jains acknowledge that it is very hard to not kill anything. Thus, the emphasis is on the intention to do no harm and to minimize suffering. As beings with more and more senses experience pain, harming beings with more senses results in greater karmic debt. The great principle of Ahimsa in Jainism is often symbolized as it left, with the word Ahimsa appearing in the palm as written in Sanskrit. The spokes of the wheel represent the 24 Tirthankaras. The fundamental Jain commitment to nonviolence is seemingly at odds with the Hindu focus on duty, dharma, which, as we've seen in the Bhagavad Gita, requires those in the warrior caste to kill for a just cause. The teaching of the Gita is to focus on having the right intention and to not be attached to the result. In Jainism, the focus is on the consequences. Thus, consequential karma is a central operating principle in Jainism. Actions that result in desirable consequences are called punya, and those which bring about undesirable actions are called papa. A second of the three main tenets of Jainism is non-absolutism, the rejection of one-sided views, Anakanatavada. Truth, it is said, is multidimensional and can be viewed from different perspectives. This Jain teaching allows for better discourse among people with competing views. Further, truth, especially religious truth, is often hard to express in words and must be experienced. The third of the three main tenets of Jainism is aparigraha, limiting and detaching from possessions, the parimita parigraha, and desires, the ika parimana. In 1974, Jains of both major denominations agreed that there are 14 kinds of internal desires that must be eliminated to attain moksha. These are wrong belief, sexual desire for women, sexual desire for men, sexual desire for both, laughter, liking, disliking, grief, fear, disgust, anger, pride, deceit, and greed. There are also 10 external possessions that prevent one from attaining moksha. These are attachment to fields, houses, wealth and food grains, stock and household goods, utensils, male or female slaves, animals, vehicles, beddings, and seats. That's a lot of detachment and presents us with a very monotone religion. Extracting from the first sentence of the previous mentioned Tavaratha Sutra, Jains also say that their religion has 3 jewels, Ratanararya. In a nutshell, these are: right faith or perception is to recognize the true nature of reality as taught by the Tirthankaras. Right knowledge is to distinguish between truth and falsehood, good and bad, soul and matter, and experiential versus academic knowledge. And right conduct is to follow the 5 vows practiced by lay Jains and monks: Ahimsa, truthfulness, non-stealing, celibacy, and non-possessiveness. Some Jain texts add a correct asceticism as the 4th jewel. It's important in understanding Jainism to know the goal, the refinement of soul. In Jainism, the pure soul is said to have 4 innate attributes: perfect rationalism, perfect perception, perfect knowledge or wisdom, and perfect bliss or prowess. What keeps a soul from being pure is karma, an extremely important concept in Jainism. There are 8 types of karma in Jain thought. Jains believe that thoughts, words, and deeds, bhava karma, cling to the pure soul, as shown by the orange color clinging to the pure white soul it left. This karma attracts a material karma, karma pudgala or dravya karma, shown by the blue color it left. Bhava karma, the orange in the diagram it left, and dravya karma, the blue in the diagram it left, influence each other. The golden color it left represents actions that do not have a significant moral consequence and that do not directly bind karma to the soul. Clinging to the pure soul, all karma is ultimately bad from the Jain point of view, but goodness and badness is relative. Thus there is pleasant, shubh karma. Pleasant karma is the result of providing others with food, drink, shelter, bedding, and clothing, as well as wishing others well, having happy speech, providing bodily services to others, and being respectful. And there is unpleasant, ashubha karma. There are 18 unhappy karmas: violence, falsehood, theft, sex, covetousness, anger, pride, deceit, greed, attachment, hatred, quarrelsomeness, false allegations, false complaints, backbiting, exultation or grief, duplicity, and false faith. There is some karma that has little effect, lirapathic karma, or a form of no karma. And there is karma that sticks to the soul, samprayak karma. There is also destructive, gati karmas. These are delusion, obscured perception, obscured knowledge, and obscured karma. These harm the 4 innate qualities of the soul. And there's non-destructive karmas: one's status, age, physique, and ability to feel pleasure or pain. These are non-destructive karmas. To be free from rebirth, Jains believe that all karma, good and bad, must be removed from the pure soul by one's own efforts, samyak purushartha. Only humans can achieve this liberation. To clean a soul, one must stop attracting new karmas, samvar, and destroy previously acquired karmas, nirjara. At a minimum, one must commit to non-violence, truthfulness in thought, speech, and action, not stealing or cheating, celibacy before marriage and faithfulness in all forms after marriage, and not being attached to or own material things. These are the 5 vows, the anuvratas, Jains take if they are to follow the Jain path. These are but the beginning of the practices required to be freed from rebirth. Recall that Jains believe that there are 6 eras or auras of spiritual decline, avsarpini, in this half cycle of time, and that we are currently in the 5th period. Jains believe that attaining liberation from birth, moksha, is not possible in this period, as social conditions have deteriorated too far. One can, however, work to attain a better rebirth. Meditation and yoga is an essential part of Jain life. Jains believe that all 24 Tirthankaras use meditation to achieve enlightenment. Mahavira, for example, meditated day and night for 13 years before he achieved omniscience. Little is known about this early meditation practice, save that it seemed to focus on being still, calm, and free from activity. We know that Mahavira would also walk with his eyes fixed on a square space before him of a length of a man. Early meditation techniques may have involved focusing on a single point or object, often a candle or some image, in what is now known as Trataka meditation. Or it may have involved focusing only on slow, relaxed breathing in what is called pranayama in Sanskrit. In both cases, the goal is to achieve an effortless, sustained state of pure awareness where the distinction between the meditator and the meditative technique dissolves. This is generally called jhana meditation. In addition, the first of the Anga-Agamas indicates that early Jain meditation may have been coupled with fasting and not even drinking water for months. Over time, Jains adopted specific meditation and yoga practices generally prevalent in India, especially preksha meditation, focusing on the subtle internal and innate phenomena of consciousness meant to cultivate self-awareness, and by focusing on the soul to renounce the body in what is called Kaostar. The 29th chapter of the Udaradhyayana Sutra from the Mula Sutras accepted by Svedambaras provides a detailed description of different yoga practices. Jains believe the universe, or loka, has the shape of a man, with his arms on his waist and his legs extended as shown at left. This universe is of enormous but fixed size. The universe has 3 sections, upper, middle, and lower. We reside on the middle waist-high level, the Madhya Loka. Below us is the Adho Loka, the 7 regions of hell. Above us, in the Ardhava Loka, is the realm of the non-liberated gods, Deva Lokas, divided into 16 heavens or kalpas. Above this, in the Kalpatit, beyond the heavens, there are 9 Grava Yakas, heavens at the level of the neck, 9 Anudishas, heavenly corner points, and 5 Anuttara, without superior abodes. At the very top of the universe is the Siddhashila, where liberated souls reside. Perfectly enlightened souls with a body and still in the physical world are called arahants or victors in Jainism. Liberated souls no longer bound by bodies are known as Sidhas and reside with Tirthankaras at the top of the universe in the crescent-shaped Siddhashila, the rock-like strong moral abode of Siddhas, represented in the image here. Siddhas are omniscient and live in a state of eternal bliss. A Jain classic, Chudamani Nigandu, explains that Siddhas have infinite knowledge, wisdom, power, and lifespan. They are unchanging and without name and personality. Siddhas do not interfere with the material world and have no interaction with mortals. Jains pay homage to and worship these liberated jivas, but do not expect favors from them. One of the secondary agamas describes Siddhashila as follows: that Isha Pragbara Prithvi, that is, the layer that separates the topmost level of the universe, is white and faultless like a mirror. It is as white as a solilia flower, lotus stalk, dew, drop of water, snow, cow's milk, and pearl necklace. Its shape is like an upturned umbrella. It has a brilliant glow like that of white gold. It is clean like sky or crystal, constituted of smooth particles. It is as soft as a piece of cloth made of fine fiber. It is gossamer like polished cloth. It is smooth like a stone polished on a grinder. It is glossy as if honed on a fine honing wheel. It is free of dust, dirt, and slime. It is without any cover. It is radiant with rays, and it is delightful, spectacular, attractive, and enchanting. The symbol at right has been adopted by Jains and represents basic Jain beliefs. The general shape is of a man and represents the way Jains view the shape of the universe, with hell below the waist and heaven above. At the top is the crescent shape Siddhashila. Below it, the three dots in a line represent the three jewels of Jainism. The four arms of the swastika symbolize the four states of existence one is born into on previous karma: heavenly beings, human beings, hellish beings, and subhuman beings. It can also represent the four characteristics of the pure soul: infinite knowledge, infinite perception, infinite happiness, and infinite energy. Jainism grew rapidly in the 5th century BCE, receiving the support of important kings, and it continued to thrive with ups and downs in both its southern Digambara sky-clad branch, where it was strongest in Karnataka and Tamil Nadu, and the northern Svetambara white-clad branch, strong in Rajasthan and Gujarat. Both branches suffered occasional resistance from Hindus and their patrons. Serious resistance occurred in the north with the rise of Islam in the 12th century, a time which also saw the division of the white-clad into several sects. Similarly, the sky-clad encountered more serious Hindu resistance and schism beginning in the 12th century. After the initial division into sky-clad and white-clad Jains, the Jain community suffered many more divisions, intensifying after the 12th century of the Common Era, as shown here. Today, less than 0.5% of Indians are Jain, and their effort has been focused on building or restoring some of their fantastic temples, one shown here, disseminating literature worldwide, and promoting causes of nonviolence. In some ways, Jains are like Hindus and Buddhists, with their beliefs in an eternal soul, reincarnation, karma, moksha, meditation, and yoga. There are, however, important differences, as you've seen. As to the soul and reincarnation, Jains believe that all souls, jivas, are eternal, and that if they achieve purification and liberation from the body, they become a siddha, residing with the Tirthankaras at the top of the universe. These purified souls are fundamental substances and, as Dvaita dualist Hindus also believe, do not merge with Brahman as they do in non-dual forms of Hinduism. Further, these purified souls do not interact with us. Jains say that their earthly lives act as a model for us humans, but in their heavenly form they do not. In Hinduism, the relation between God and humans, whether of the same or different substances, is essentially a love relationship. In Jainism, however, The pure soul is distinct and eternal, and there is no other to commune or merge with. Excluding divine love, Jainism can appear quite sterile. As you've seen, another difference between Jains and Hindus is that the Jain view of karma is to focus on the consequences of action, whereas Hindus focus on duty-related intention, karma yoga. The Jain belief that karma is a material substance also differentiates it from Hinduism. Jains and Hindus also often differ regarding creation. Some Hindus believe in a creator god, Brahma, whereas Jains do not. This may, however, be less of a distinction than it appears. If the creator god of Hinduism eternally creates, including through cycles or eras, there was no time when he did not create. Creation, then, like nature, has always been, as Jains believe. A big difference would seem to be regarding a belief in gods. Hindus believe in one God with many different forms and functions, whereas Jains reject the many gods of the Vedas and believe instead in the eternal teachings of the Tirthankaras, thus believing that their scripture is more coherent. Jains often claim to not believe in divine intervention. On the surface, this makes them different from Vaishnavites, the branch of Hinduism that believes in the regular appearance of godlike avatars. Jains do, however, believe in the regular appearance of Tirthankaras, ascetics who self-purify. Based on a passage in Scripture, some Jains, however, believe that Tirthankaras can be born with innate knowledge acquired from a previous life. This makes them little different from Hindu avatars. Indeed, the regular appearance of Tirthankaras in each cycle of time makes them also appear as avatars. Thus, in both Jainism and Hinduism, there seems to be a soteriological plan operating to deliver to humanity divine guidance. Jains excel in its commitment to nonviolence and peace. A Jain festival prayer reads, "I forgive all living beings. May all living beings forgive me. All in this world are my friends. I have no enemies." While lovely in the purity of its teachings, Jainism's ascetic heart makes it a hard religion to follow. The statue here is of Bahubali, the son of the first Jain Tirthankara. He is said to have meditated motionless for 12 years in a standing posture before he attained omniscience. Jain saints model a difficult path. The statue also illustrates the Jain goal of detachment from all. Other great religions teach the opposite, engagement with society and challenging and overcoming social ills. The Jain view of time is also somewhat problematic, as it is cyclical, whereas in some religions it is also progressive, moving us ever forward toward higher and higher states of unity. It's time now to examine the life, teachings, and mission of a slightly younger Indian contemporary of Mahavira, Siddhartha Gautama, the Buddha, who had abandoned severe Jain austerities in favor of a middle way.